Hello, everyone, and welcome to another video here on the channel. Today, we are looking at one of the biggest one-day races of the year. It is, of course, the Tour of Flanders, Belgium's finest monument. Sorry, Liège-Bastogne-Liège. And today, as always, I'm joined by Mr. Critical himself, Ewan. And Ewan, last year, it was an absolutely tremendous edition. Well, I'm saying that very biased, but Kasper Asgreen, of course, out-sprinting Mathieu van der Poel in a position we thought he would never win.
Exactly. The Ronde Van Vlaanderen, I'll be honest, is my favorite of the monuments. I think it always provides drama, always provides action. And with the cobbles and the hills, you get best of both worlds. And for this occasion, for the first time this season, we are actually previewing a Belgian race. So here comes a strong Belgian beer. Also,
drink responsibly as well. So anyway, Ewan, what has the route got in store for the riders for the 2022 Tour of Flanders?
Well, this year's edition, like the past number of editions, will begin in Antwerp, the port city right to the north, the most populated city in Flanders, as we head to the usual finish in Oudenaarde, where you can find the Ronde van Vlaanderen Museum. So this race, well, for the first 100 kilometers, not quite so much happens. We'll see a breakaway go away, but things will change once we get to the Lippenhovenstraat. That will come at 168 kilometers to go after 100 kilometers of racing. After that, the cobbles will begin. And one of the iconic climbs of this race, the Oude Quadremont, will come with 136k to go at exactly the halfway point. That's when the real gateway to the race begins. After that, we have the Kortekeer, the Achterberg, the Holleweg, Wolfenberg, Kerkekate, Jagerij, Molenberg, Malberstraat, Berendries, Valkenberg, Berchtesgaden, Canarieberg, and then finally we get onto this iconic loop, which will begin with the Oude Quadremont and Paterberg double bill. These are the two most decisive climbs of the race, some would say. And this comes for the first time at 54 kilometers to go, when we have the Quadremont and Paterberg. After that, we go to the Koppenberg, and the average gradient of that climb is 11.6%. After that, well, we had the Steenbeek Dries with 39k to go, the Tyenberg, the big climb for Tom Beans, which comes at 36 kilometers to go. After that, it's the Kruisberg before the final kickers of the Oude Quadremont and the Paterberg, which come at 15 kilometers to go. That will decide who will win the Ronde van Vlaanderen. Usually, the riders up in front at the Paterberg will go on into Oudenaarde to contest the finale, whether that will be a rider on their own or whether that will be a duo or a trio. We're yet to find out. But once we're in Oudenaarde, there will be a new rider to add to that long list of legends who won the Ronde van Vlaanderen, Vlaanderen's mooiste.
So anyway, without further ado, now we come to the favorites. Of course, where best to start than the King of Flanders last year, Quickstep Alpha Vinyl, bringing Kasper Asgreen, who of course has shown some good form this season already. Hasn't taken any wins, but Strade Bianchi podium there. And 10th in E3, and of course in Get Wevelgem, he did look strong despite finishing 32nd. Of course, we've also got David Bellerini, we've got Stenning Stibar, Florence Seneschal, who you adore, and Yvan Lampaert, who you also adore. And that's kind of only the riders we've had on the start list right now. But Ewan, how do you see Quickstep's chances of retaining this title? And it might not be Kasper Asgreen.
It might not be Kasper Asgreen, but I will preface everything by saying that this is the weakest I've ever seen Quickstep Alpha Vinyl in a run-up to the Ronde van Vlaanderen. We are recording this before Dwars door Vlaanderen, a race that's been won by Quickstep on multiple occasions, particularly Yves Lampaert. But from what I've seen so far this season, this hasn't been the Quickstep that we love to watch. They haven't been riding like the Wolfpack. They haven't been as aggressive as we usually see. Maybe this could change at the Ronde, but for the time being, I'm underwhelmed. Kasper Asgreen, the reigning champion, will go into this as the favorite, well, the leading rider for this team. He looked very good at the Strade Bianche. He looked good at Idri Harabeke, but he was played out by Jumbo-Visma completely. I think the problem there is that they didn't have the numbers to challenge Jumbo-Visma or to counteract that move undertaken by Van Aert and by Laporte. But Asgreen showed last year he can beat a very strong Van Aert, he can beat a very strong Van der Poel and take the win. This year, he could do the same, but With the team reinforcements, I'm not quite sure. Florent Sénéchal has been underwhelming this season so far, hasn't quite shown his face at the front. Shinek Stibar looked good at Paris-Nice, but just didn't have the kick to be there at any of the classics we've had so far. And I mean, I'm not going to forecast a quick step victory. I'll tell you that now. Spoilers for the predictions. But if they're going to do it, they're going to have to ride this very well. They have a lot of expertise in the team to win this race. They've won it many times and done very well many times. But I believe this will be a 2020 scenario where they don't make the podium.
So moving on, you already alluded to the team. Wout van Aert and his merry men in Jumbo-Visma, they have absolutely had a formidable start to the year. And not winning Milan-San Remo, but Ewan, what do you think of their chances? Christophe Laporte and Thies Benoot seem like they're golden signings for Jumbo-Visma this year.
Exactly. Jumbo-Visma are looking like the best classics team in this race. They have had one of the best track records so far in the Spring Classics campaign, of course, with Omloop under their belt, as well as Idri Harabeke finishing second at Gent-Wevelgem. So they've really capitalized on Flanders so far with what looks to be a very reinforced team, led by Wout van Aert, we assume. He's finished second here in the past, and he's a person with the best track record on the squad. Also looking at his teammates, we have Thies Benoot and Christophe Laporte, who've been instrumental so far in carving this Wout van Aert dominance that we've seen so far, alongside Nathan van Hooijdonk, who was valuable to the team and has been showing good legs so far as well this season, and Mike Turnison, who was up there, Idri Harabeke, in that front group, which saw Jumbo-Visma spring out to victory. On the topic of Wout van Aert, I think he is certainly going to come into this as the quote-unquote red-hot favourite. The Belgian champion looks very strong. He has what it takes to follow them up the cobbles and up the hills. And if it comes down to a sprint, well, we assume Wout van Aert will be there unless it's against Mathieu van der Poel. That's the issue I have here, is that Van Aert very rarely beats Van der Poel at the big level. We haven't seen it happen so much. The Ronde Van Vlaanderen 2020, the Ronde Van Vlaanderen 2021, the World Championships in Flanders, also the European Championships 2018, for instance. You know, the last time Van Aert beat Van der Poel when it was one-on-one, or when both of them were on the steps of the podium, was in 2017. Why is that suddenly going to change now? Van Aert, yes, I think on paper, it would make sense, but you never know with Van Aert when he's up against Van der Poel in a big pressure scenario like this. But in the absence of a strong Quick-Step Alpha Vinyl, Jumbo-Visma could take that position and try to outplay everybody else. And they could be bullish about their chances going into this. I just hope they don't throw out Van Aert off the front with 50 kilometers to go, because I could see that happening.
Anyways, moving on to the second half of the Mathieu van der Poel Wout van Aert rivalry. Mathieu van der Poel, who of course made us incredible comeback in Milan San Remo, finishing third, and of course he declined to go to Gent-Wevelgem and so forth, and instead going to the Coppier Bartoli stage race for the first time in his career, winning a stage there, and we have that on the Cycling Day and Extra channel if you want to see that. But Mathieu van der Poel, of course, coming back from back injuries and not having done a cyclocross season as well, so potentially he's a bit rested, but of course he is coming back from the injury, so it's probably not 100% Mathieu van der Poel we have right now. But if he gets anywhere near that from this time now and then to Tour of Flanders, it could be very interesting. But Ewan, what do you think of Alpecin Phoenix with Mathieu van der Poel spearheading them, we assume?
Yes, Alpecin Phoenix are coming into this with a very, very strong lineup. Van der Poel has won this race. He knows what it takes to win the Ronde van Vlaanderen, particularly up against his arch nemesis, Wout van Aert. Just look at 2020, for instance. And last year, yes, he was played out by Asgreen, but I think he's going to learn from this. He was very, very strong at Milano-San Remo, finishing in third place, winning that sprint behind when he was up against Mads Payson, Pogacar, Van Aert. And I think he is probably going to come into this one of the men to beat here. Looking elsewhere to the team, it's very strong once again. Michael Gogol, I think, will be a key aspect here. He's been very, very strong in the past couple of classics, floating under the radar, getting some decent results. Also in the mix, Sylvain Dillier, second at Paris-Roubaix back in 2018. Also Gianni Vermeersch, who was looking decent at Idri, even though he came down in a crash, as well as Jonas Rickert and Jasper Philipsen, which are two wild cards here. They will probably end up being teammates, but very valuable teammates at that. So Van der Poel, I think, has every chance to win his second race in what is actually his birthland, Flanders.
Right, now we come to Trek Segafredo, who, of course, who knows who they're going to be spearheaded by. It could be the former second place finisher, Mads Pedersen, or it could be Jasper Stuyven. Who knows? But they certainly have got a very strong team. But Ewan, Trek Segafredo, they've kind of been in the mix this year. Mads Pedersen showed in Paris-Nice that he could actually outkick Wout van Aert on a sprint finish. And equally, Jasper Stuyven was up there in Ghent-Wevelgem. So both of them clearly on form. And how do you see Trek Segafredo doing at this year's edition?
Yeah, I'm excited to see Trek Segafredo. I think this is one of the more exciting classics teams. You have so many big riders in this team who've got good records in Flanders. I'm looking at Mads Pedersen, Ed Turns, Jasper Stuyven. It's a fascinating squad that I think could succeed. Mads Pedersen, of course, finished second here in 2018 when he was an unknown quantity. But this year, coming into it, I think he's got the best form that I've ever seen Mads Pedersen come into a Ronde Van Vlaanderen. Do I see Mads Pedersen winning this outright? I'm not quite sure. I can't quite see Mads Pedersen leaving the likes of Van der Poel, Van Aert, and Asgreen on the Paterberg or the Oude Quadrants, if I'm quite honest. But with Steve as well there to really roll the dice, it could be an interesting squad that you should look out for a podium place.
Anyway, now we turn our direction towards Bahrain Victorious, and Bahrain Victorious are going to be led by Matej Mohoric, we think. Of course, this is only the Slovenian road race champion's second appearance at the race, and of course, he's already picked up Milan-San Remo this year. Looked very strong in E3, finishing 4th and 9th in Ghent-Wevelgem. So Ewan, Matej Mohoric, of course, absolutely incredible rider, and Bahrain Victorious bringing somewhat of a good team here.
Yeah, Bahrain show that you can do whatever with a lineup. They've been up there in almost every World Tour race in the past 12 months. Even last year's Ronde Van Vlaanderen, I recall them making some big moves with Marco Haller, I believe. And they could do the same thing this year with this lineup. We have Heinrich Hausler here, who's still going strong at the age of 38 years old. Matej Mohoric, who we believe to be their leader, who has been riding very well at Idri, was up there in Ghent in the group, but didn't respond to the attacks, but was looking very good at Idri Hannebeke. Mohoric's skill set, I think, could really work with this kind of profile. Cobbles, sharp hills. So Matej Mohoric, I'd say, has a very good shot at finishing within that top 5. And I mean, if he gets the victory, it would be the first time in a long time in my living memory that we've had a San Remo Ronde Van Vlaanderen double act.
I think the incredible thing with Mohoric is that he is such he's such an all-rounder, and he's so daring and he's aggressive and he's not holding back. And yeah, this year showing that he can even perform in some of the smaller classic. Yeah, maybe he could sneak onto the podium. Looking towards another team, one that has got a winner, EF Education Easy Post. They're of course coming here with Michael Velgren, who's finished 4th in the past, and Alberto Bettiol, who you're very keen on, Ewan. Stefan Biesinger in the team as well, the Swiss superstar in the making, and then Sebastian Langeveld, who of course has been on the podium in Paris-Roubaix and of course top 5 in Ronde Van Vlaanderen before. So Ewan, do you think they're going to be doing anything here? Michael Velgren looks like he's on some sort of form compared to Alberto Bettiol, for instance.
Yeah, I think this team is coming into it, I would say, somewhat blind, because you say that Valgren's been on form, 20th at Idri, 25 San Remo, 35th at Ghent-Wevelgem. It's a decent amount run of form, but it's not anything earth-shattering. Bettiol has won here in the past, but he's also on very poor form. But in terms of Bettiol, I would love to see him get on the podium. I'm a big Bettiol fan, but I just don't quite see it happening this year.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see who they ride for. I definitely hope they're riding for Michael Velgren, who does like these tougher kind of circuits. But anyway, moving on to a team that boasts a handful of winners, but it's probably not going to be the winners that they're going to be riding for. Well, one of them is not here, Peter Sagan. Total Energies, they're coming with Anthony Turgis, who looks very strong right now. Nicky Terpstra is also going to be in that team. The one edition that we mentioned, that Mess Peterson finished second in 2018. But Ewan, you love the French. You are in France. And do you think Anthony Turgis can replicate potentially his 2020 result? He's finished inside the top 10 in 2 years in a row now.
Yeah, I think this is a race perfect for Anthony Turgis. He was very aggressive last year. This year, he's shown that he's on better form. He's been learning different craft. He's been better at sprinting now. You got a 5th place on a sprint stage in Paris-Nice for crying out loud. So he's definitely got good form in that discipline. And I think as well with that 2nd place at Sanremo, the confidence is building. This team is going from leaps and bounds in 2022. Like the other French team, Arkea Samsic, they're doing brilliant things this year. Total could be a team that, similar to Jumbo, could really try to control this. We have a strong lineup here with Nicky Terpstra, Dries van Gestel third at Gent-Wevelgem, Daniel Oss, who rode brilliantly at Idri Harderbeker. It's plenty of decent riders to be a nuisance to other people. And if it comes down to a numbers game, Total could be the people up there to provide something different to this race and to change the dynamic thereof. So I'm all here for Turgis, and I think he will be the best Frenchman on the day.
Right. The last team we're going to focus on, and that is going to be UAE Team Emirates, who of course are coming with Mr. Hotshot himself, Tadej Pogačar, who's going to try and be the first rider since 1969, Eddie Merckx, being the defending champion, who then goes on to take the Ronde Van Vlaanderen. They've got Fernando Gaviria in here, Rui Oliveira. They've got Alessandro Covi, who's been on good form this year as well. And of course, Matteo Trentin, who has actually not finished top 10 in Ronde Van Vlaanderen. I have no idea why I was thinking that. But Ewan, do you think we're going to see Tadej Pogačar pick up his 3rd monument here this weekend?
I don't know. This is, I think, the most open-ended question of this year's Ronde van Vlaanderen. You can see plenty of debates about whether Pogačar is going to win this or not on Twitter and so forth. If we're looking at recent Grand Tour contenders who've done well in this race, I'm looking towards Valverde and Nibali, who have both had decent results. Nibali was very aggressive when he rode this after winning Grand Tours, and I think Pogačar will try to be aggressive, but I don't know. I don't know how he's going to roll in the cobbles. We will see it on Wednesday at the Tour of Flanders. But after that, we will have a clearer picture of where Pogačar will be for this race. But it's going to be fascinating nonetheless. This guy seems to have no bounds. He wins on the gravel, wins in the mountains, wins in the time trials. So who knows what Pogačar could bring to this? It could be an interesting flair.
So anyways, that's basically the main favorites. In terms of looking elsewhere, we of course got AG2R coming with Oliver Naesen and Greg Van Avermaet, and both of them would dearly love to win this monument. We also have Ineos Grenadiers with an exciting team of Ethan Hayter, Tom Pidcock, Dylan van Baarle, probably the more interesting out of those riders. And then we can't not mention him either, Mr. Flanders himself, almost one of the most consistent riders that we've had in a long time, Alexander Kristoff, who of course has won the race before. Just to finish with our favorites before we go into our predictions, here's the clip of what Kristoff thought when he was winning 2015 Ronde Van Vlaanderen.
Yeah, what happened at that year's Tour of Flanders?
In the start, he was working a lot. It may be harder than me because I was really tired. But yeah, and I remember the year before, actually, me and Terpstra was chasing together. I remember how strong he was, and then I saw he attacked or slipped slightly away. So I think, okay, you don't want to let him go. but just was the one move I followed, and suddenly was the decisive move. So it was kind of a lucky move also, maybe, that I was just there at the right spot at the right time. But I had in my back head from the year before that when we were chasing, I remember how strong he was. And everybody knows how strong Nicky Terpstra is on races like that. So it was a good guy to break away with. And in the start, he did really, really decisive pulls. He thought for sure he's going to drop me either in Quarmont or Patersburg. But yeah, then I managed to stay with him in Quarmont. And actually, after I really got the belief that I'm gonna win this. So then in Patersburg, I was really strong myself. So yeah, at the end, he for sure didn't want to work too much. But yeah, again, it was Sagan and Van Aert chasing behind. So I say to him, it's maybe better to chase or ride with me than that have a sprint with 4 riders. It's better to have it with 2.
So anyways, now we come to our favorite part of the show. Ewan, the Tour of Flanders 2022. Who is your top 3?
So I will say that this race will come down to a group sprint of 4 people. In that group, we will see Matej Mohoric, Anthony Turgis, Wout van Aert, and Mathieu van der Poel. In that group, then, I say 3rd place goes to Van Aert. I think 2nd place will go to Anthony Turgis. And the winner will be Mathieu van der Poel, who wins his 2nd Ronde van Vlaanderen. However, as always, I will give my wild card. And for this week, it will be Valentin Madouas.
Right. Okay. I'm going to be very nationalistic, somewhat. I think Wout van Aert is actually going to take the win here. I really want to see him win, especially in that Belgian national kit. It will be amazing. But I think behind him, we're going to have Mats Pedersen finishing 2nd, and then we're going to have Kasper Asgreen in 3rd. But anyways, going on to the bonus round, and I think we can all guess what the bonus round is going to be. Where will the 2021 Tour de France champion finish in Ronde Van Vlaanderen?
I'm going to say he finishes in 12th.
Well, I'm going to say that he's going to finish in 6th place, and we'll have to see if he even becomes the highest placed Slovenian. We don't even know that. Anyways, that's it for our 2022 Tour of Flanders preview. And as always, thank you for listening. If you're listening to the podcast, thank you for watching, and make sure to hit the subscribe button, like the channel, like the video, and of course, as always, let us know who you think is going to win down below. And as always, have a good day, and we will see you around.